What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward. Talk about other factors out there as we have big earnings coming out, not to mention some new developments. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20. And deposit $25,000 or more, and you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends very soon in just 2 weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with the markets. So, as far as NIO goes, there's a bit of a downtrend that's being respected. I just want to mention that we're approaching that $5 area. We'll have to see if we get a bounce off 5 or not. So we'll have to see. But overall, we still remain more bearish. Now, there's going to be other factors that come out for the markets that could affect how we end up moving. But I just want to focus on NIO for the time being. Just know that we are looking bearish as we lost our 200 EMA, and the share price is not showing any signs of a true bounce. There's going to be a psychological support at that $5 area, and I think there's a good chance we approach that. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. But for now, let's talk about some other factors, and I'll break down more details about NIO. As a reminder, tomorrow is going to be Friday, October 18th, 2024. Just know that at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Boston giving a speech, not to mention Cash Carring and Waller, and we'll see what happens after that. This is going to be very important for the way in which we end up seeing these new developments. I just want to say that these Fed speakers may say some interesting things that could affect volatility, but for the time being, the market does have one catalyst that's a little bit more positive. Netflix just announced their earnings, and this was not bad whatsoever. The third quarter subscribers barely beat estimates, but they had good earnings as the share price is up almost 5%. EPS was a beat at $5.40. Revenue was a beat at $9.83 billion, and paid memberships are at 282.7 million. So once again, not bad whatsoever. On top of this, I just want to say that we're seeing some nice expectations for Q4 as they announced new shows, not to mention new NFL events and also potential boxing matches. So cool stuff. I can't wait to see how things go, but we're seeing some nice improvements in terms of their 2025 revenue and the fourth quarter. Now, when it comes to other factors out there, I just want to mention that tomorrow for SPY, we have about 780 plus thousand of these calls expiring and almost or a little bit under 3 million of the puts expiring. That gives us a 567 max pain with 3.76 being our put to call ratio. It's not bad whatsoever. NIO is talking a lot about how their ET5T is getting a lot of attention once again. Very, very good for families. And then we saw Goldman Sachs come out. They basically raised their price target on NIO and XBONG, giving it a buy rating, which is not bad whatsoever. Also, when it comes to seasonality, Fridays tend to be green about 53% of the time, and we tend to see hourly seasonality that's more high around 11 o'clock a.m., not to mention the final hour of the day. So that's what we're seeing at least thus far. On top of this, the price price ratio is dipping a little bit as NIO is losing some strength, and volume is only at 73 million. So we're seeing volume increasing slightly, and that's followed by is the share price kind of like dipping. So it's a little bit more bearish. I think we could be approaching the $5 area. We'll have to see how things end up going. Once we reach $5, we'll see if we get some kind of big bounce or not. So give this the time it needs. But I just want to mention that we are going to likely see a little bit more downside as time goes on before we see some buyers defend 5. So just be very, very prepared for that. Our main resistance is at 5.45, so we could attempt to get back up there later on. Look for a little bit more downside before that attempt to bounce ends up coming. So for now, the chart remains more bearish. For SPY, we're dipping a bit, but we're still holding above our 20 EMA. So there's going to be a big test tomorrow. Tomorrow, SPY is going to likely dip closer to about 581. And if we get a bounce off of Netflix earnings, we could be looking for an attempt to get back up to 585 plus. If we lose 581, we're looking for a dip back down to 576. It could go either way, so look for a little bit of a dip. And I do think that the chart does look like it wants to bounce as we're continuing to make higher highs and higher lows, and there's no sign of a true rejection. But we'll see just to be safe for confirmation. Same thing with ES. We're holding above our 20 EMA very nicely. If we lose 58.82, we could be dipping lower. And if we hold this, we could attempt to rebound for the 5900s. So we'll see how things end up progressing, at least moving forward. For Nvda, Nvda is holding support nicely. If we end up losing basically 137, we're looking for 135 as our support. And if we bounce off this, we're looking for a push back up towards the 139s. My gut tells me we could be pushing for the 139s, and we'll see how things end up going. For Bitcoin's trying to push higher. We're looking for basically 68,000. So 67,500 and 68,000 is our key resistance areas. If we were to dip towards 66,500, we'll see if we get a bounce. And if we lose this, we could be dipping lower. Overall, we're doing a good job, and I think this could attempt to get closer to 68,000. As far as Tesla goes, Tesla's kind of trading sideways in this range. We're looking for 223.5 as our resistance. If we end up losing 220, we could be dipping. So I'm hoping that we get a nice push up for 223.5. So we'll give this even more time. For NQ has resistance at 20,400 and then 20,362. I think that we're looking pretty nice right here. If we break this resistance, we're going to be looking for 20,500. There's a good chance that this will attempt to rebound. We need some confirmation, though, not just from Netflix earnings, but a break of 20,400 to get that push. And there is potential in it to try to do that. Same thing with the QQQ. This is like an inverse head and shoulders. If we lose 49, I will turn a little bit more bearish, but this could attempt to rebound at least towards this imbalance, especially thanks to Netflix. So 494 is on the table again. Apple's holding up very nicely above our 20 EMA, so it could be trying to push for 233. So it's doing a pretty good job. Looking at Netflix, this is also looking pretty good. Nice bounce so far after earnings. We're up almost 5%. Should push a little bit more tomorrow. CELH should also try to push for 32, 65 in my personal opinion. It's at this support right here, so it might push for the mid 32 area, and we'll see if you reject or not to start dipping lower. Look for a small rebound, and we'll see if you get a rejection, but be very, very patient with that. For the IWM, we're on a nice uptrend so far. We could be looking for 227 as our target. So far, so good. Amazon's also holding support as long as we don't lose 186. I think the odds favor 188 to be tested. For Meta, as long as Meta does not lose 574, we could be looking for 580 as our potential target. For Microsoft, we're looking for more upside. So if we break 418, we're looking for a bigger push. And for Google, we're kind of dipping right here. So we could attempt to rebound. It's about 164.8. And we could be tipping, excuse me, we could be tipping back down towards 163 after that. So despite this head and shoulders, it does look a little bit more bearish. I think that we might rebound to 165 then reject. And this does have a risk of some downside. With that being said, some tech stocks look a little bit weaker, but others are showing some signs of rebound. The market looks like it wants to rebound tomorrow as long as we hold our support. So that's going to be very, very pivotal for the big test that's coming for tomorrow. With that being said, NIO looks like it may underperform compared to the market as the price-price ratio is dipping, and there's a risk of us getting very close to $5 before we attempt to bounce. But that is it for my analysis. I just want to thank you all so much for listening, so please have a absolutely fantastic rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow to give you guys another update on what I see at least for the market as time progresses. Do not forget, there's a lot of options expiring for tomorrow, so we'll see what that leads to in terms of volatility. And thus far, there's still a lot of buyers defending the market, so the market still is bullish from a technical standpoint, and we'll see if the moves end up lasting or not. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening, guys. Have an absolutely great day or night or evening, wherever you guys are around the world. And I'll be back tomorrow for another one. Thank you for listening. Happy Thursday, and peace out.